You can change your entire life by changing one habit. Subscribe to our podcast to make listening a habit.
Change your mindset, manifest your dream life, and live magically with Rise and Align.
Raising the frequency, one episode at a time.
Hello and welcome back to the Rise and Align podcast, where we talk about all things high vibrational. We are your hosts. My name is Demi.
And I'm Halie. So, lately we've been talking a lot about connecting to your intuition and communicating with the universe, reading energy. And we wanted to kind of get a little more specific on how you can determine what may be right for you and what may be wrong for you. And a lot of this is tuning into your intuition. But we'll just give some specific examples because I feel like, you know, no matter what, you can't get it wrong. You're always going to end up exactly where you're meant to be. However, there are different pathways of getting there. Abraham Hicks talks a lot about focusing on going downstream. You're flowing down with the river. It's easy. It's more peaceful. You're flowing versus trying to paddle upstream, but you're still going to end up flowing down the stream. It's just going to take longer. So if you can tune into messages from the universe or tune into different things to determine if something may or may not be in alignment with your path, you can make it a lot easier. So again, you're still going to get there in the end. You can't get it wrong, but you can flow and make it a little more easier on yourself.
Yeah, most definitely. Easier to navigate. So I feel like the biggest thing here is feeling the outcome. So if you're trying to make a decision between A and B, think about how the outcome would feel. And what feels best to you, what feels easiest, or maybe most exciting to you is going to be the path that is more meant for you. Now, I don't know about you guys, but my head and my heart, they argue sometimes, you know, because sometimes something will seem like the logical, like right path. It might seem like the right idea. Like maybe it seems safer. Maybe it seems, like you'll make more money, or maybe like I've dated people where it's like on paper, this person is great. Like they treat me right. They are financially stable. Like they're a good person. They have good morals. Why shouldn't I want to be with them? But my heart is like, nope, it's just not right. And you have to listen to your heart. I think that your intuition always knows, even if it logically might not seem like the right idea. And definitely I know from contrast that if you don't listen, it will create more contrast, which, you know, sucks at the time, but it does always expand us, you know, and it does end up leading us into the right path. So it's like sometimes we might get caught in that cycle, but we eventually will learn and recognize like, okay, this is where I gotta go. I gotta let go and I gotta let it flow.
Yes, exactly. That kind of brings me into one of my first points as far as like when something may not be right for you. You tend to get caught in a cycle. So it can show up in a little bit different ways, different people or different experiences, but you're still kind of going to be finding yourself in this like same cycle, whether it kind of brings forward like the same feelings, or if you just keep experiencing like a similar thing within a relationship or within a job, like that's going to continue to come up until you kind of have that realization that whatever that is isn't working for you anymore and you have to make a change.
Yes. So that made me think about, I've had clients who've asked me, how do you know the difference between your intuition and your subconscious beliefs? And I've also, you know, asked myself this because that can really play a huge part in you lacking trust in yourself and kind of lacking those like the knowing that I should follow this feeling versus being like, oh no, am I self-sabotaging? There was specifically a girl who commented the other day and she was like, I, for some reason, am not attracted to men who have the same like morals, views, opinions, values as I do. But then there's men who I'm like wildly attracted to who don't share that. And she's like, I don't know why. And the way that she said it made me definitely believe that that was probably being avoidantly attached, and that having to do with her subconscious belief system. So a good thing to do is to look back on your childhood, look back on, like, if it's say around relationships, is this mirroring what you've experienced in childhood? So like if you had avoidantly attached parents, are you possibly acting like they acted? You know, and when you go in, you recognize that, and you're able to kind of clear those beliefs and heal that and change your beliefs, and you're still feeling that way, then you're like, okay, this is 100% my intuition, which I think is why it's so important that you do become aware of your subconscious beliefs, so you can catch yourself in those moments and be like, okay, I'm believing this because it's habitual. I've habitually done this, versus no, this really feels right or wrong for me.
That's so good. And it also brings forth this point of like, when things get really tough for you, like I think if you continue to experience contrast, like the same contrast over and over again, I think that that is a sign that something may not be meant for you. And the universe is kind of telling you like, hey, this is hard. It's not really supposed to be this hard. And it can sometimes get a little worse or a little harder until you kind of finally have that realization. But I feel like when things feel like they are crumbling around you, that is one, obviously a sign that what's going on around you is no longer like serving you, but also it is a sign that you are on the right path to, like, almost like you're quantum leaping into another like reality, because you are making space for the new, for the things that are meant for you. So when things seem like they're falling apart around you, it's because they're about to come back together. And in order for things to change or to begin to work out for you, maybe how you want them to or whatever, you have to let go of those old things. So it's like almost like a blessing when you begin to see like life falling apart before your very eyes.
Yes. Like the saying, sometimes good things have to fall apart for better things to fall together. I 100% agree that. And sometimes you have to, I mean, always, you have to let go of the old to invite in the new, and nothing changes if nothing changes. So sometimes when it seems like your whole world is falling apart, it's for something better. And I've seen this happen so many times to people, like, for example, when they lose their job, they're like, obviously that doesn't feel good, you know, like it's hurts. And maybe if you have like lack beliefs around money, you're like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Like my world is actually gonna end. But sometimes it pushes them to their actual purpose, you know, pushes them into the journey that they're meant to be on. And I really do believe in that kind of like death and rebirth of the soul, because every time that this contrast does happen, we always do expand from it. Always.
Totally. Yes. And I have heard of so many different people who have either like gotten laid off or have been fired, and they end up like starting their own business, or and find out it's something that they didn't even realize they wanted until they were like, they had this idea after they were fired from a job that they didn't really even love that much, or they step into a new role where they have never been happier. So I think that when things like that do happen, again, it's like a reminder that like something better is coming. It's opened up the doors for an even better opportunity for you.
If not this, then something better. And rejection is redirection. So if something's not working out, I like to think about like, what could be better than this? You know, like if this isn't meant to be, what do I really want? And I think a lot of times people forget to ask themselves that, like, what do you really want? And is your current reality aligning with that? Can you stay focused on the good? And if you can, then of course you can attract more of that good. But if you're like, oh my God, no, this is so wrong, then you know it's time to redirect your path. It's time to change. And you had mentioned something earlier to me about if something excites you but scares you. A lot of people will let that fear hold them back. but when I worked with Bob Proctor, he said, you should create a C-type goal, and that goal is going to be something that you've never done before, and it should scare you. It should excite you and scare you. If it doesn't, you won't expand from it, and that's part of the excitement of life, is that expansion, is that doing something more, doing something bigger, learning more, becoming more of who you really are.
I love that so much. And I also like to use this concept of if something feels like expansive or if it feels contractive, like quite literally in your heart. Oftentimes when you are excited about something, you may feel fearful. But that does not mean it's not meant for you. Typically, if you are excited but maybe a little anxious or scared about something, it still feels expansive in your heart. You're still excited. You feel like, even though it's a little scary, you're excited. And that feels, to me personally, it feels like expansive in my heart space. If something is starting to feel contractive, or you kind of want to hide and like you quite literally feel like tense in your heart, like I feel like that is a sign that something is not meant for you. And your body will continue to give you messages, like different feelings and sensations. And the more that you tap into that, I think that's a way that you can connect with your intuition. But that also brings me to this concept of like, if you continue to put yourself in experiences that are not meant for you, or that are just toxic, or, overall very negative for you, you will get sick, and you'll continue to get sick, and you may get sicker. It may start off as, you get a lot of colds, like continually, or you get like a cold and then you have like an ear infection 2 months later, and then a month later I don't know, like just crazy illnesses like start coming up. I think that's a sign. And then to take that even a step further, you may begin developing more chronic illnesses. So just keep that in mind. Like, obviously that doesn't apply to everyone. Like, just because you're sick doesn't mean like, you're not doing something right. But just take inventory of like your body, how you're feeling, and if you think that might apply to you, because I think that can be a great indicator about your life, and if you're kind of in alignment with.
Absolutely. If you're sick all the time, I definitely would bet that you are stressed out. And so it's good to acknowledge and kind of ask yourself, like, where is that coming from? Sometimes it is just like not taking care of ourselves properly, overdoing it. Sometimes it is a job that we hate, and over time, it will create chronic dis-ease in your body. Sometimes it's a relationship. Sometimes even friendships can kind of create that stress. And I was laughing as you were saying that, because I remember this one specific guy I was seeing, and I had gotten sick quite a few times in a span of a few months, and that's unlike me. Like, I brag to everyone about, I never get sick. I'm so healthy. And at the time, like, I remember thinking, like, whatever I have right now isn't like...
Nala, what is your deal? No barking.
But I remember thinking at the time that whatever I had, like, wasn't a serious illness, right? But I was like, for some reason, I really don't want to hang out with him, so I'm going to use it as an excuse. And I told him, I was like, I'm really sorry, and he was coming from out of town. I was like, I'm really sorry, but I don't feel good, and, I'm just going to chill this weekend. Like, you should just stay home. And he was like, oh, no, I'll come and take care of you. Like, he was so nice. And I was like, okay. And I let him, and I shouldn't have. I should have held that boundary, because something in me knew that, like, I just didn't want him to come. But I let him, and I actually ended up getting sicker. And then after that, I had to break it off with him, and I've been really healthy ever since. But no, it really does happen, because when your body's under stress, like when you're feeling that contrast, it does create dis-ease, the opposite of ease in your body, and then it starts to manifest, and you're like, what's wrong with me? So that is a great sign that you're not moving in the right direction if you are getting sick all the time. It's a good sign to be like, why is this happening? But obviously sometimes you just get sick for just because you're doing a lot, you didn't get enough sleep, or, you know.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there definitely are other factors to that, but that's why I just like take inventory, like see if you kind of notice if it seems like it's related to something else. Going off this idea of like excitement, I think that is a great sign that something is meant for you. And of course, like not everything is going to feel exciting and like crazy all the time, but like in your heart, if you feel excited about something, someone, or a goal, or whatever it may be, like an experience that you are going to have, like I think that excitement is important, and it's also it's going to bring you, like that's a sign that it's going to bring you joy. So I just think that, you know, doing things that make you feel excited are important.
That made me think too. So in relationships, a lot of people, we watch a lot of Disney movies, and so we want it to be like passionate and exciting. And I think to a point, like, yes, you want to be excited about the person, but also beware of how you feel about the people that you're around, because it's good to be excited about them, but if you don't feel like you're acting like yourself, if you feel like super nervous and you've been dating for a long time, you don't feel comfortable, that's a bad sign. Like sometimes passionate can be toxic. Sometimes it's better to feel like safe and at ease and at peace. So just always being aware of how you feel it's more important than anything. And a couple other things that I like to tell my clients to ask themselves too, and I even do myself too: what would your inner child do in the situation? And when I say inner child, I'm not talking about like the wounded inner child. I'm talking about the free, happy inner child with big dreams, who wouldn't hold themselves back, right? Like the little kid who's like, I'm gonna be famous. What would that little kid do in this scenario? Like, would they stay in this restrictive job, or would they say screw it and follow your dreams? Because that's the right answer. Like that little self that before they had trauma and drama and subconscious beliefs, that little self knew what you wanted, and you don't want things if they're not meant for you.
Yes, like following what you want without thinking about the limitations or the why not, or like the things that may or may not get in the way, or, you know, limiting beliefs, like you said. Like, think about like your life as if it's like limitless, because it truly is. Like you can have or be anything that you want.
Absolutely. Are you acting out of faith, or are you acting out of fear? Always choose faith, because it's going to align you to a life worth having faith in.
Yes, that is so true.
The other thing I'll have people ask themselves too, like we've talked about self-concept and being the main character and that kind of thing. And I coach mostly women. So I'll be like, what would the queen do? Like, consider yourself the queen of your reality, because you're the one creating your reality. Like, you are the godly creator of your reality. So if you were the queen, embody that royal energy for a second. If you were the queen, what would she do? Would she be, you know, bossed around by these peasants? Heck no. You know, like, no, the queen would make decisions that are good for herself and her kingdom, you know, and she would do that in a responsible, respectful way. She would trust her intuition. You got to do that too.
Yes, that's such another like amazing point, and it's so important. I was thinking, another way to know if something's right for you is that unexpected like people or situations will begin to like show up around you that you would not expect. Like it came out of nowhere. Like this random person will message you, or you'll be like in an elevator and meet someone, and you'll get to talking, and they know someone who knows someone, and they'll hook you up with them to do your little side gig. Like, who knows? Like, I just feel like these little weird like synchronicities begin to like flow to you, and at first you might not think of anything of it, or you might think it's kind of weird, or you might kind of be taken aback by it. But once you start like kind of tuning into these a little bit more, and like if you're a little bit intrigued, like explore that, talk to that person, go to that thing, whatever, it will lead you, like, it's like a little scavenger hunt, and it'll like lead you exactly where you're meant to be. It's like a like sneaking in the back door instead of like going the long way. Like you get to
signs and synchronicities. Yes, I've had so many things like that happen to me where like I wasn't even like intentionally manifesting like this scenario or anything, right? And it just comes out of nowhere. And if you would have asked me prior to it happening on a like scale of 1 to 100, if I would have thought that would have happened, I would have been like, maybe it too. You know, like I did not expect that. I did not expect that. And yes, it makes life feel magical. It makes life feel worth living. And you have to follow those little signs and synchronicities. And I've had so many like random scenarios that it's like, truly for me, when I'm aligned and I'm myself, it's like, yes, that's totally in alignment with me. But it also was something I would have never expected to happen. Like these surprise events and people that show up in your life at the perfect time, and you just feel that it's right for you.
And yeah, like divine time is a real thing. And like, to me, it tells me that like the universe is literally working for you. Like,
yes,
there's so much going on behind the scenes, and the universe is making things happen for you. You just have to listen to her. She is your best friend.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think too, like there are times where you're like going back and forth on a decision, right? If your heart doesn't immediately tell you that answer, you can sleep on it. You know, you can think about how the outcomes feel for longer than 5 seconds. Like it is okay, because I trust that you're going to make that decision in the right time. And there usually is like some sort of a sign like, okay, now's the time.
Exactly. Yeah. And you will, again, you'll always get there in the end. Like you'll always get exactly where you're meant to be. You are exactly where you're meant to be right now. So you can't get it wrong. And if you are unsure, like I think it's almost better to take the time and the space to like figure it out, because we're not in a hurry. If you are making rushed decisions or doing something that feels forced, that is not in alignment. That is very forceful and not ease. It's not as flowy. It's not going downstream. I think that it's definitely important to take your time with big decisions if you don't feel that immediate like yes or no from your intuition.
Definitely. Yeah. Like there are certain things. Bob Proctor always said that successful people make decisions fast and they rarely change their minds. And in a lot of cases like that can be true, because you immediately feel like that's the obvious answer. That's right. But yeah, don't make rash decisions if they don't feel right to you to do that, because I've made quite a few decisions. We always act against our intuition at sometimes, right? But I've made quite a few decisions that were almost like pressured. Like people would be like, are you coming with us or not? You know, and I'd be like, I guess so, you know, because they want me to or whatever. And I don't really have an opinion either way right now. So I'll just do it because they want me to. And then afterwards, I'm like, why did I do that? This was a horrible decision, a terrible time. I should have never agreed to this, you know, but you learn your lessons.
Yes. Even if you make the quote unquote wrong decision, you still learn, you get to like have another like life lesson, you know?
And then it's okay. Next time I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just an opportunity for extra expansion.
Exactly. You can't get it wrong. Never get it done. As always, practice using your intuition, because the more that you do, the more you will trust yourself and the easier it will become to make decisions.
Yes, 100%. Always coming back to like the intuition and listening within, because you have all the answers within. And I guess that kind of brings me to this concept of like, you know, we're talking about making decisions. You don't necessarily have to seek it out from other people. You know, sometimes if it feels right to go to someone about a decision that you're trying to make and get their opinion on it. And we've talked about this in other episodes, so we don't have to go too deep into this, but just know like you do have the answers within, and you don't have to rely on other people to decide them for you.
And on that, I always like to consider the source. So if you're asking somebody for advice, before you do, just think about, okay, what are their beliefs around this? You know, what does their reality look like? If their beliefs are really wonderful and they are really successful in the area that you're going to ask them a question about, they're the perfect person. Sometimes too, people, like if you're asking your friends and your family who love you, they're always going to be answering you out of that place. So sometimes when you're doubting yourself, like it is good to go to other people, and other times you need to go within.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that being said,
let's pull a card.
We're going to be pulling from one of our personal favorites, the Moon Witch Tarot deck.
I love this deck so much.
All right, so we have the Knight of Pentacles, and I'll be reading from the little booklet it comes with. I do want to say that, you know, we're talking about intuition and connecting to our intuition. Tarot can be a really great way to kind of help bring clarity to situations and kind of help you, like, I don't want to say determine your answer for something, but, you know, like it can just help provide guidance. So this you can use as a message for maybe something that you're pondering. Otherwise, we definitely recommend experimenting with tarot or oracle cards on your own and just letting that kind of help guide you.
It's a great place to find wisdom, definitely. So in the card, if you were watching in the video, I did hold it up, but it is a woman with a horse, and she's kind of like holding onto the horse's neck like she's going to look up and kiss him, like he's so cute. And she's holding a pentacle. It's a night starry sky, and there's mountains and flowers in the back. It's so cute.
So when I look at that, like with the horse and the greenery, it's very Taurian to me. And it actually makes sense because the main themes for this card is slow and steady progress, caution, loyalty, deep and hard work, productivity, routine, and schedule. So the knights in tarot usually represent actions, movement, and travel. They are galloping fast forward towards their goals. However, unlike other knights, the Knight of Pentacles is standing motionless. She represents gradual progress, hard work, and efficiency. It does not mean that she is not driven or ambitious. She just prefers doing things methodically with great attention to detail. When Knight of Pentacles appears in a reading, it celebrates your commitment to your goals. You have a clear plan in place, and it is profound. Keep doing what you are doing. Stick to your plan. Before you know it, your seeds will bloom into reality. Knight of Pentacles could also represent a real person in your life, someone practical and determined, a hard worker who always gets the job done. It may also suggest that you need to develop these qualities in yourself. If the reversed meaning resonates with you, it may represent or suggest stagnation. Perhaps you are tired of your routine and want to step outside of your comfort zone, but you feel afraid. Well, the upright Knight of Pentacles thrives on a set schedule. The reversed Knight wants to do something different and spontaneous. Soften your approach and forget about perfectionism.
Yay! Love that. All right. Well, as always, thank you so much for joining us and helping us raise the frequency. We are so eternally grateful for you.
Yes, we are. Thank you so much for being here, and we can't wait to see you in the next episode.
Bye. Bye.